this morning I had some bacon, and I found this real thick piece of bacon in there. So I thought, well, I'm going to make some beef stew. So for the beef stew, I'm going to use some red wine, some mushrooms. I cut them in half. Carrots, I cut them in large chunks, like 1 inch. Tomatoes, these are canned tomatoes. I'm draining them. And some chicken broth. I'm going to use just the rind of the orange, a couple onions, some garlic, some tomato paste, a couple bay leaves, some thyme, and here's the beef that we'll cut up. Here I have the beef. It's 3 pounds, which is just a little bit over a kilo, and I'm just going to chop this up into pretty big cubes. About 2 inches, which is way bigger than most people do it, but I like to do it in big cubes. And the reason I brought up the bacon is because whenever I make beef stew, I like to use a little bit of bacon in there. And I'm just going to kind of cut up the bacon into 3 pieces. And I'm going to continue on with cutting up the stew. Have all the beef. Beef is all cut up, and I've kind of taken paper towels and put over it. It wasn't very wet at all, but I don't want any water on here because it just helps the beef to steam instead of fry up. So I'm going to put some salt on here, and some pepper. Just kind of mix this around, and we'll go over to the fry pan. The pot's been heating up. I'm going to add some olive oil, just a little bit. And start adding the beef to it. And we're going to brown this up. Second half is browned up. So I'm going to take it out, set it over here. I'm going to add the onions. 2 onions were sliced up. And the carrots. The bacon. And the garlic. I just sliced it up too, like the onions, and the tomato paste. We're going to cook this up. The orange, what I do is I take a peeler, like a vegetable peeler, and I'm just taking off, not everything, but a lot of the orange zest. Then I'll stack them up. I'm just going to slice them. So I'll finish this. And also, here's the tomatoes that have been drained. Just going to kind of give those a rough chop. Just very roughly. It's been about 5 minutes and the onions are getting quite soft. I'm going to add just some flour. Forgot to tell you about that. Here's a 1/3 cup measure. It's a little overflowing. That's okay. I'm going to stir this in and cook up the flour for a minute or 2. The flour's cooked up for 2 minutes. I'm going to add the mushrooms. I'm going to add the wine. I'm going to add orange zest and the chicken broth, and I'm going to add juice of the tomatoes, plus I added a cup of water in there, and the thyme, and 2 bay leaves. And put the beef back in here. and bring this back up to a simmer. Well, it's come up to a bubble. It's simmering. I'm going to put this in my 325 degree oven. And I'm going to put the lid on like that, kind of open. Well, I've taken it out of the oven, and I did have the lid on there like that the whole time. I took it out of the oven like 5 minutes ago. I'm going to take out the bay leaves and the thyme. And there's another bay leaf in here somewhere that we need to get out, but I don't see it. So I'll look for it later. And just as a last thing, I want to just stir in these tomatoes. I didn't want to put them in at the start because I want them to be more of a fresh flavor. There's the other bay leaf. I just wanted the tomatoes to be more fresh and not like disappear. And here's some parsley. I'm just going to stir this up and let it sit for like 5 minutes just to warm the tomatoes up. We're ready to serve. I like to put some noodles on my plate and top it off with some of the beef stew. Serve with some crusty bread. A little more of the juice, or the broth, or the gravy. Top up with some parsley, just for color. Benson's going crazy over on the side there. Here we have a delicious beef stew. Very nice. Thanks so much for watching.